Look forward to playing him again. I played him how many times? 3 times this year already. He's beaten me all 3 times, but I look forward to the challenge.
Jannik Sinner do the tennis equivalent of ripping Arthur Fils' arms off and beating him to death with them. And then after that, we saw this be the closest thing to a smile that Alexander...
The machine is back, and he's breaking records in Madrid.
Alexander Zverev!
Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, where the drama never stops and the records keep falling.
It's amazing. I feel so much of great support here throughout the first day coming here and already years ago. So I'm very, very happy.
Because folks, what went down at the Caja Magica in Madrid on Friday was not just tennis. It was a masterclass, a coronation, a statement. And by the time the dust settled on those clay courts, the men's draw had done exactly what most of us secretly knew it was going to do all along. It handed us the final we all wanted.
Of course, I'm happy to deliver this kind of level, happy about the tournament still, but obviously.
The one that feels inevitable these days. The one that is becoming the most compelling rivalry in the sport right now. Jannik Sinner versus Alexander Zverev.
After all the hype from the young guys this week, we ended up with the dust clearing and it being Jannik Sinner and Alexander Zverev left in the final. Earlier today, we saw Jannik Sinner
one more time, with a Masters 1000 title on the line. But before we get to Sunday's blockbuster final, we need to talk about how we got here, because the journey through those semifinals was absolutely must-watch television from the very first ball.
Ce qu'on appelle poser une clim, Jannik Sinner refroidit Arthur Fils pour se qualifier en finale à Madrid. Est-ce qu'il va reperdre un match? Aujourd'hui, ça relève d'un véritable exploit de battre Jannik Sinner. Il n'a plus perdu contre un joueur français.
Let's start with the storylines heading into Friday, because this was a day loaded with subplots. On one side of the draw, you had the world number 1, the ice-cold, emotionless, relentless Jannik Sinner, facing Arthur Fils.
Jannik Sinner contre Arthur Fils, c'est la demi-finale du Master 1000 de Madrid. Et depuis que Carlos Alcaraz a abandonné, on attend tous cette rencontre. C'est peut-être les 2 joueurs les plus en forme du moment avec Jannik Sinner.
The French firecracker who had been absolutely lighting up the clay swing. Fils came into that semi-final on a 9-match winning streak. 9 straight. He had just won the ATP 500 title in Barcelona. He had been the hottest player on the dirt not named Sinner. And he was the first Frenchman to reach the Madrid semifinals since the tournament moved to clay back in 2009. That is a stat that tells you something. This was not just a feel-good story. Fils was genuinely dangerous, genuinely capable of pulling an upset, and the tennis world was watching to see if the Frenchman could finally put a dent in the Sinner armor. On the other side of the bracket, you had the tournament's fairy tale, 21-year-old Belgian wildcard Alexander Blocks, a player who had absolutely nobody on their radar coming into this event, pulling off one of the most extraordinary week-long runs in recent Masters 1000 memory. Let's just run through what this kid did to get to the semis. He beat Felix Auger-Aliassime. He beat Francisco Cerundolo. And then, oh, this is the moment everyone will remember. He took down defending champion Casper Ruud in the quarterfinals. A player who had not won a single tour-level clay match before April, suddenly standing in the semifinals of one of the biggest events on the calendar. Standing in his way? 2-time Madrid champion Alexander Zverev, a man who had been dealing with his own semifinal demons all season long. Now the stage was set. 2 established powerhouses against 2 hungry, fearless challengers. And the questions going in were real. Could Fils's clay form translate against the best player on the planet? Could Blocks's momentum carry him past the experience of Zverev? Could Zverev finally break his string of semifinal losses and get to a final for the first time all season? Let's get into it. The first match of the day was Sinner against Fils, and honestly, it started the way most Sinner matches start these days, with a quiet, almost unsettling sense of inevitability. Fils tried to hang in it early, took the first game on his own serve with a hard-fought hold, but then Sinner simply turned on the tap. The Italian won 7 consecutive points, broke early, and from that moment forward the match had a very particular feeling to it. You know that feeling, like you were watching a chess grandmaster play someone who is still learning the advanced pieces. Sinner was clinical, precise, suffocating in his depth and accuracy, and he wrapped up the first set 6-2 without breaking a sweat. Now to Fils's credit, the Frenchman did not roll over in the second set. He came out with renewed energy, improved his serving, made things competitive, and for a stretch it genuinely looked like he might force a shootout. But here is the thing about Jannik Sinner in 2026. He simply does not have the kind of cracks that most players can exploit. At one point in the second set, the two of them locked horns in a stunning 24-shot rally that had the Madrid crowd on their feet. Sinner won it, sealed the crucial break, and served out the match to a 6-2, 6-4 victory in just 86 minutes. And here is the truly jaw-dropping part of the afternoon. Throughout the entire match, Sinner dropped only 3 points behind his first serve. 3. And he never faced a single break point. Not one. Against a player on a 9-match winning streak, on clay, in a Masters 1000 semifinal. That is what we are dealing with right now. After the win, Sinner said he felt comfortable on the return and called it a very good day in the office. A very good day in the office. The man wins a match where he barely has to sweat and calls it a good day at work. That composure, that sense of routine excellence, is exactly what makes him so frightening right now. And then came the records. Because with this victory, Sinner did something that only 3 other men in the history of professional tennis have ever done. He became the 4th player, and the youngest, to reach the final at all 9 ATP Masters 1000 events. The other 3? Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer. The big 3. The holy trinity of the sport. The men who dominated this game for 2 decades. And Jannik Sinner, at just 24 years old, just slid his name right next to theirs in the record books. He also extended his Masters 1000 winning streak to 27 consecutive matches. And this was his 5th consecutive Masters 1000 final, a streak that includes the title in Paris last autumn and 3 more in Indian Wells, Miami, and Monte Carlo this calendar year alone. He is chasing something no man has ever done in the 35-year history of the Masters 1000 format. 5 consecutive titles at this level. Nobody has ever done it. Not Djokovic, not Nadal, not Federer. Nobody. And Sinner is 1 match away. 1 Sunday final in Madrid away from rewriting history in a way that will live forever in the sports record books. That is the weight of this moment. And somehow, he carries it like it is absolutely nothing. Now let's talk about the second semifinal, because the Zverev and Blocks match told a completely different kind of story. One about experience meeting momentum and experience winning out, but not without a proper fight. Blocks had been the story of this tournament. The young Belgian, ranked number 69 in the world coming into the week, had walked into the Caja Magica and systematically dismantled players who were supposed to be far above his level. And coming into the match against Zverev, there was a genuine sense of danger around the German. Because here is the context you need to understand. Zverev had lost 6 consecutive semifinals before this match. 6 in a row. In 2026 alone, he had fallen at that stage 5 times, including 3 losses to Sinner at Indian Wells, Miami, and Monte Carlo. The semifinal had become a psychological wall for him, a barrier that he simply could not seem to climb over regardless of how well he had been playing on the way there. And so when Blocks came out swinging in those first few games, there was a small but very real possibility that the wall might claim Zverev one more time. But the nerves were Blocks' problem early on, not Zverev's. The young Belgian, stepping into his very first Masters 1000 semifinal, simply looked overwhelmed in the opening set. His first serve percentage plummeted to 44%, and Zverev punished every short ball, every tentative shot, every opening. The German raced to a commanding 5-1 lead in just 27 minutes and wrapped up the first set 6-2 with a stunning smash that had the crowd gasping. The second set was a different story. Blocks found his legs, found his game, started playing with the aggression and confidence that had gotten him to this point in the week. He fended off breakpoint after breakpoint, 7 of them in total, and kept hanging in there, kept making Zverev work. The scoreline got tight. The Caja Magica crowd, which had fallen in love with the Belgians' run, started roaring. For a few moments, you could feel the pressure mounting on the German, who at 5-5 in the second set had seen 4 consecutive breakpoints come and go. But Zverev held his nerve. He played the 11th game with the composure of a 2-time champion, secured the crucial break, and then served out the match to love to win 6-2, 7-5 in 1 hour and 35 minutes. It was done. The semifinal jinx was broken. Zverev was through to his 4th Madrid Open final. joining only Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal as the men to have done it on 4 occasions. He also picked up his 30th career victory in the Spanish capital, and in doing so reached his 13th Masters 1000 final, equaling Sinner for the second most among active players, with only Djokovic ahead of them both. He had done what he needed to do, a professional, controlled, mature performance that finally gave him the result his season had been missing. After the match, Zverev spoke about the challenge ahead with an honesty that was almost refreshing. He acknowledged that tennis looks very easy for Sinner right now. And then he said, "And I love this. Maybe on Sunday I will make it a bit more difficult for him." That is the spirit. That is what you want to hear from the challenger going into a final. Not excuses, not deflection, just a simple, determined promise to give everything and see what happens. But here is where we have to be real, because the numbers tell a sobering story for Zverev heading into Sunday. Sinner leads their head-to-head 9-4. He has won each of their last 8 meetings. In their last 5 encounters at Masters 1000 level, Sinner has not dropped a single set. Not one. Sunday's final will be the 5th consecutive Masters 1000 meeting between these two men, and Sinner has won every single one of them. Paris, Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, without ever being pushed to a 3rd set. That is a streak of dominance that genuinely has no recent parallel in the rivalry landscape of this sport.
Forward to playing him again. I played him how many times? 3 times this year already. He's beaten me all 3 times, but I look forward to the challenge.
Sure, we're going to get another Sincadas final on the dirt before the season wraps up. Of course, the most important of them is Roland Garros, but let me know who you think has the edge as of right now.